Alright guys, in this video I'm going to look at how much money I think you need to launch a successful FBA product in 2019. Now I'm going to kick things off by looking at what I believe are the almost compulsory startup costs to get things up and running. I'm then going to show you a breakdown of my second and third products to show you how startup costs varied between those two. And there's also going to be a third kind of imaginary product which I believe is the lowest cost option for launching a product on Amazon. And then at the end of the presentation I will show you some optional or future costs which may apply to your product. So let's kick things off by looking at startup costs. And like I said, I believe most people are going to need to pay these costs, so I've put these down as startup costs. So the first thing is I would recommend registering for a limited company, and there's lots of websites where you can do this, and it usually costs anywhere between kind of £10 to £30. So I've put that down as a £20 cost, and a lot of these figures I've just rounded to the nearest £10 to make it as easy as possible. The next tool you will need, and this is an essential tool, and that's a sales estimator. Now whether this is Jungle Scout, X-Ray from Helium 10 or AMZ Scout or something like that, it is essential for saving you so much time when you are trying to find product opportunities on Amazon. So I purchased the Jungle Scout Pro extension when I started out. That's the more expensive option. There is a cheaper version of Jungle Scout and there are other solutions available. So I've put down 130 for now, but there are cheaper options there if you want to go that route. The next thing is GS1 barcodes. Now I purchased the official GS1 and that cost £145 per year approximately. Now that is very expensive compared to what you see on sites such as Barcode Mania or if you go on sites like eBay. However, Amazon want you to use official GS1 barcodes, and they are very quick to suspend people's products or suspend people's accounts, so let's not give them any more reasons. Just cough up that money and buy the official GS1 barcodes. The next thing is your monthly seller fee. So you can pay £30 a month, but if you're not actually selling, so during those first couple of months where your stock is coming in, if you contact seller support, they should refund those fees. So it's £30 a month for your seller fee, and then getting your logo or branding on Fiverr, that'll probably cost you around £25, give or take. So it's quite cheap. So overall, those, what I would say your fixed startup costs, about $350. Now if you cut a few corners with kind of the sales estimator and GS1 barcodes, which I wouldn't recommend, you could probably get down to kind of 200, 250, but I'm going to say 350 as the startup costs for any product. So this is the product comparison. So I'm going to break it down row by row, my two products and then the low cost option to give you kind of the bottom price that I think is viable with Amazon FBA. So the first thing is samples. Now product 2 is a reasonably heavy product, so it cost me about £100 per sample. My other product was only around £50 per sample. So there we've got 300 for the second one, 150 for the third, and then the low cost option. If you didn't go for free samples, I would always recommend going for free samples of any product so you can compare. If you really want to go the low cost route, go for 2 samples and just do a bit more research on the company first and make sure you're going to be happy with the samples they're going to be sending you. Sometimes they'll even send you photos before they send you samples. So if you want to go that low cost option, consider that as a route to take. The next thing is the final sample. So I always do 2 rounds. The initial round where I'm shortlisting, then I will then give them my final specification and then request a final sample, so I can see exactly what it is, and I can also use that for photography for the product listed. Now this is usually refundable. I'm going to leave the cost in for the first 2 products, but for the low cost option I've put that as 0 because you can usually get that refunded or taken off your final order that you place with the supplier. Photography. My second product cost £440 approximately. That was because there was a location shoot involved, so that made the photography quite expensive, whereas my third product was only £150 because there were 7 shots taken in a studio. Now I've put that as the same cost for the low cost option because I believe unless you're very good with a camera, you shouldn't try and do your own photography, and I don't think you're going to be paying much less than £150 to get 7 good shots for your product. The 3D render, so this doesn't always apply. Now I got a 3D render for my third product because I had a unique selling point that I could not get across in the photography. So I got a 3D render to show the makeup of my product, and that allowed me to highlight that USP. So a 3D render is optional, but if you believe it can help you stand out and highlight a feature you couldn't normally show through photography, definitely consider that as an option. Packaging design. Now I did the packaging design myself, but I've included it there as a cost. It's £25 approximately, again on Fiverr or similar for packaging design, and the same fee approximately for your product insert as well. So for the low cost option, if you're pretty good in Photoshop or similar, you can put that down as 0 and save a bit of money there. So in terms of ordering the initial stock, now for both my products, I purchased 500 units for the first batch, whereas for the low cost option here, I've done it for 300 units to show what a lot of you guys might be looking at is 300 units instead of 500. You just have to understand, if you only order 300 units, there's a very, very high chance you'll go out of stock if the launch goes well, and just be prepared that you will have to kind of do a soft relaunch when your product comes back in stock. So it's not the end of the world going out of stock, just be prepared that it will cost you a little bit more to relaunch that product when it does come back in stock. So product 2, that's a more expensive product, 2,800 in stock. Product 3, much cheaper, £1,500, and then the low cost option. If you can find a product for £3 per unit and you only want to order 300 units, you're looking at £900 for that. You've then got shipping. Now this one, which was much heavier, I paid £315 to the freight forwarder. On my smaller, lighter product, I got an overall fee from the supplier, so they gave me a unit fee which included DDP shipping to the Amazon UK warehouses. So if you can get DDP shipping included, and this is usually only available if you've got a very small and light product, then you can keep your shipping cost to an absolute minimum, because I'll just include it into your overall product costs. You can see here I've presumed the same for your low cost option. If you can get a product for say £3 a unit, hopefully you can then get it landed cost at £3, not just the unit cost itself. Customs duty and VAT on the freight forwarder one, so the sea shipped product was £875 for customs duty and VAT, whereas for my third product, where it's DDP shipping, no customs duty or VAT, because your supplier pays that as part of the DDP shipping, and I've presumed the same as well for the low cost option. The next thing is your keyword research and rank tracker. Now I use Helium 10, I've talked about this in previous videos. You need to do your keyword research so you can optimize your listing accordingly, and then you need to track your ranks, so when you launch your product you can see whether your launch is actually succeeding, rather than just judging it purely by sales. You can see whether your organic ranks are improving on a day by day or even hourly basis with some of these trackers. Now for the low cost option, I've gone for 0. Now I used this on my very first product back in September. I was able to do some keyword research, not all of the keyword research, but I was able to do enough to get the product launched, and then you can track a certain amount of keywords for free as well. So you can, if you want, use the free plan of Helium 10 to do the keyword research and track your product once it launches. The next thing is your PPC. Now this I put in as an upfront cost. However, the reason I've done that is because if your product fails, you're going to have to pay this PPC regardless. However, if your product is a success, then you can pay your PPC cost from your sales proceeds. So I've put it in initially as an upfront cost. So this one here, where I wanted to sell 8 to 10 units per day to get ranked on the first page, I had to spend around £30 per day to do that. This was on Amazon PPC. The next product, which was in a much more competitive niche, I wanted to sell 15 to 20 units a day, so that's a £50 per day daily budget. And then on the low cost option, say you only want to sell 5 to 7 units per day, then you may be able to do that potentially with around £20 to £25 per day budget to do that. So that gives you an idea of PPC costs. So you scale them up, you can see the overall costs that I've included there. So that gives us a total, just for these 3 products, £5,500, £3,000 and just under £1,500. And when you add on those initial startup costs, I've got just under £6,000 for my first product, just under £3,500 for the second product, and around £1,900 for the low cost option. Now I've put here, I would recommend a minimum of £1,500, because if you're going to be paying this PPC out of sales proceeds, and also maybe if you can cut a little bit down on those fixed costs at the start, then I think if you've got a budget of around £1,500, you can launch a very low cost product on Amazon. You'd probably be needing to look at £3 or below per unit, and that's going to need to be your landed cost as well. So that's my take on what I think are reasonable budgeting expectations for Amazon. Obviously some different people have different experiences and expectations, and this obviously comes down to what your goals are for that product as well. So depending on what your goals are will vary massively what your budget will actually be. Now we've got some optional or future costs that I just want to make you guys aware of as well. The first thing is a training course. A lot of people are aware of training courses. Approximately £500 to £1,000, massively overpriced in my opinion. 90% of this information is already freely available on YouTube. Domain names, £20 for a domain name, for a .com, .co.uk probably cheaper. I think with some suppliers you can get kind of a 2-year .co.uk domain for less than £10, and some of the company formations websites as well will include a free domain as part of their fee. Business insurance, now I believe this is essential. I've got product liability on my products, so if someone hurts themselves somehow with them, I've got insurance in place, and that's cost me around about £350 per the year, and that will vary depending on how many products you've got and what markets you sell in. Accountant, I'm paying around £100 per month for my accountant, so budget around that. You may pay a little more or a little less depending on who you use. And then if you want to apply for a trademark, that's £170, and that includes your first class of trademark as well. The second batch of inventory. Now, if you want to avoid going out of stock, you want to be ordering your second batch of inventory almost as soon as you start launching your first product. So what I tend to do is within 1 to 2 weeks I get a good idea of whether this product is going to work, and at that stage that is when I order that second batch. So usually I still go out of stock, but just be aware that that might be a cost you want to budget for. If you want to be fully prepared, budget for 2 batches of inventory before you launch a product on Amazon. There's Facebook ads as well. Now, I've used these as part of my other launch processes, just mainly for the reviews more so than the sales, and I've combined that with a ManyChat subscription, which is only £10 a month, and with the Facebook ads and the ManyChat follow-up, I've been able to get good reviews using that method. And the final thing, optional cost, which is absolutely free, and that is to like this video and subscribe to the channel.